Yes, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to yet another online session, a live session of Advanced Communication Lab. So far, we have completed cycle one experiments, that is a set of discrete component experiments. We have done it using Multisim Live, right? So from this week, we'll start with cycle two experiments. That will be from part B. As you're already aware, we do have part A, that is hardware experiments. Out of that, four experiments we have already finished. Remaining four experiments are to be done using kits. Right, for that, you people need to be physically present here. Right, so we'll hope by next month or so we'll be able to resume with our offline session, regular sessions. Right, so keeping that in mind, so after first four experiments of part A, which we did using Multisim Live, we are going to move on to what part B experiment, that is MATLAB simulations, right? So we do have four part B experiments. So what I'll do is I'll just give you a brief introduction or overview about the part B experiments, right? So most of the topics are from digital communication, which you had in sixth semester, right? And one experiment that is related to principles of communication system, which you have learned in your fourth semester, right? So we'll start with today's discussion, right? So maybe now I request CRs, if you want, you can post that live streaming link in your class group, right? So that those who are like not able to join, you'll be able to join. So maybe you can share that. Now already we have 92 people on board. So if others are trying to join simultaneously, they may face some problem. So you can, CRs can share the live streaming link in your class, right? Okay, and yeah, so we'll start with today's discussion. So we'll be discussing. Yeah, Shashank, you're asking something. Maybe you can unmute and ask, or else let me just read. Yeah, Shashank. Yes, please ask.
Yes, for lab manual observation experiments that you
Yeah,
told us to make the document, are we supposed to use Multisim itself or can we use other software?
you can use any software as such. You can use. You need not use a multi-sim live only, right? If you have any other software, actually, maybe if you want to use a Simscape or anything, you can use that, right? And about, okay, I'll just start discussing about the manual. You don't have to write do so many things in that. What you have to do is you have to just simulate it, right? Already some of the experiments, multisim live circuits are shared with you, so you can just simulate the same thing, right? And just take a screenshot of the graph, right, and attach it with the word format of the report, right? And you also have to measure the frequency and amplitudes of the output, right? So that is what is there in the tabular column for ASK, FSK, PSK, and TDM, right? So what you have to observe is you are using amplitude shift keying, and after demodulation, what is that you are getting back, right? So when I say you have to complete e-observation, it means you should complete the tabular column, which will be what some parameters of the input and output waveforms, namely frequency, amplitude, and all those aspects. And you should include a snapshot of the circuit schematic, whichever tool you are using. That's screenshot you can include, and also of the screenshot of the waveform, right? You have to what insert additional blank pages, and in that you can copy paste. Like that is what you are supposed to do, and also you should write an inference, of course, right? So that's what you are supposed to do. So right, is it clear, Shashank?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, thank you for reminding me. I was about to tell that, right? Yeah, and any query regarding the assessment of cycle one? Did you have problem with any question, or all were comfortable with all question? It was an open like open book sort of exam, right? So Anyone has any query with any question? Is it a yes or a no? So I'll assume no one has any query regarding the questions. Okay, maybe later on, right? No questions, right? Okay, fine. So maybe later on I'll discuss, not now, right? So now we'll continue with our cycle 2 experiments. So in cycle 2 we have 4 MATLAB experiments. So first one will be about various line codes, right? Various line codes or signaling scheme, right? Various signaling schemes which you have learned. So this thing you have studied in your digital communication, you know, like we have different, like say return to zero or non-return to zero type, or polar or unipolar type, right? Or even bipolar is there, bipolar type, or split phase type, right? I think all of you are comfortable with this line codes, right? So then apart from these regular like polar non-return to zero, polar return to zero, unipolar non-return to zero, unipolar return to zero, you will have two additional signaling schemes. One will be a raised cosine signaling, right? So we have studied this raised cosine, right? In fact, maybe we'll just brush up that once again, what actually is raised cosine signaling. And one more is half sinusoid, signaling, right? Apart from that, we should also observe eye pattern or eye diagram, right? Eye diagram or eye pattern. So this is the first experiment. First experiment is about line codes. We should, given a bit sequence, you should be able to generate the line codes or signaling schemes as required. So that is the first experiment. And second experiment will be pulse coded modulation. Pulse coded modulation or pulse code modulation, anything, right? So I think you have studied this in your principles of communication system, right? So right, so you have to generate a PCM modulated signal, right? And also you have to demodulate it, or right. So this pulse coded modulation as such, it is actually it is one of the digital baseband modulation technique which you have learned, right? So it is a digital baseband modulation technique. So from digital baseband modulation technique, we have pulse coded modulation and demodulation, right? So we'll see in the coming slide. So what actually is this PCM, how you can simulate it in MATLAB, all those aspects we'll see. Then we do have QPSK, right? So some of the digital bandpass modulation techniques like ASK, FSK, and PSK. To be precise, binary ASK, binary FSK, and binary phase shift key, you have already implemented using discrete components, right? So that is how physically you will implement actually modulation schemes. But in this part B or cycle 2 experiments, in MATLAB experiment, we'll concentrate more on mathematical modeling, right? So if you see, it may not have right anything to do with the actual. At times, I'm not telling it has got everything to do with the actual real-time implementation, like using discrete components. But here we'll concentrate more on mathematical modeling, right? So here we won't discuss how a QPSK signal is physically generated, how you did actually what BPSK, BFSK or BASK. So, okay, yeah. The coding, it's the coding, yeah. Okay, yeah. So, so this BASK, BFSK, BPSK, all those things are digital band pass modulation technique. So in initial class itself, we have discussed what is the difference between digital baseband modulation technique and digital band pass modulation technique, right? So these are digital band pass modulation techniques. To be precise, these are actually binary modulation schemes, right? So which means we'll be transmitting one bit at a time, right? We'll be transmitting either a 1 or 0 at a time, right? So these are binary modulation techniques, whereas QPSK, it is actually a quaternary modulation technique wherein we group 2 bit at a time, and one symbol will have 2 bits and will be transmitting 2 bit at a time. So this QPSK is a, right, so maybe you can say it's a slight modification of BPSK wherein we'll be transmitting 2 bits at a time, right? So this is again a digital band pass modulation technique, sorry, digital band pass modulation technique. So can anyone just recollect what is the difference between digital baseband and digital band pass modulation technique? If anyone can unmute and tell, that would be really great. Right. Yeah, what is the difference? So at least, okay, I'll give you a hint, right? If I want to transmit some information wirelessly, which one should I go for? Should I go for digital baseband technique or digital bandpass technique? Yeah, you can either type it in chat window, right, or else you can unmute and tell, right? So if so, Shashank is telling if I have to transmit wirelessly, I should go for digital bandpass. Yes, it's correct. So digital baseband modulation technique as PCM or DPCM or delta modulation or whatever, right? So that is suitable for wired communication, right? That is suitable for wired communication. No high frequency or RF carriers are involved in pulse coded modulation or delta modulation. Those are digital baseband modulation. You will be over a wired channel, you will be transmitting actually what? Electrical pulses, rectangular pulse trains you will be transmitting, right? So that is digital baseband modulation. Here, no carrier. In digital baseband modulation, we are not actually what loading information to any high frequency sinusoid. That is not happening. We are transmitting rectangular pulse trains or line coded signals as such, right? But if it is a band pass modulation, there will be a high frequency sinusoid involved. So if you recollect, for ASK, FSK, and PSK, we used a high frequency carrier, right? So here again, QPSK, it is a digital bandpass modulation technique, right? So it involves actually what? RF pulses, or it involves high frequency carriers. And one more thing I'll add, it is a coherent scheme, right? It is a coherent scheme. So if I ask you what is coherent, you might have studied this in fourth semester PCS, and also in digital communication. Okay, digital communication as right, I don't think we have studied a non-coherent scheme. All the schemes which you had studied was coherent. So what do you mean by a coherent modulator or coherent? Sorry, excuse me. Demodulation. What is the meaning of that? So at the receiver end, right, we'll be using coherent detection. So at the receiver end, you'll use a, right, you'll produce a local carrier, right? So a local oscillator will be producing whichever carrier you have used to used at the transmitter, right? So if you have used AC cos 2 pi FCT, so that AC cos 2 pi FCT, right, it will be produced at the receiver end, and for it to work perfectly, the carrier which is produced by the local oscillator at the receiver and also the carrier which is used at the transmitter end, both should be in both should be precisely synchronized in terms of frequency and phase, right? So we can, as we in coherent modulation schemes, we'll assume the carrier frequency is known to the receiver a priori, right? So carrier frequency is known to the receiver. So in order to demodulate a coherent modulation scheme, you should have a local oscillator producing a frequency which is in synchronism with the carrier, right? So it will have a product modulator followed by a low pass filter. You might have studied this. We'll see it like in further slides. We'll see. So QPSK, right? So and generation of QPSK and coherent detection of QPSK, that will be our third experiment, right? And the fourth experiment, right? Fourth experiment is again a digital bandpass modulation technique. You will call it DPSK. What is expansion of DPSK? Can anyone Tell. What was expansion of DPSK? What is that? So maybe I'll only tell it as differential phase shift keying, right? So this is again, maybe I can say it is a modification or non-coherent version of BPSK, what you have learned, right? So this DPSK, it is a non-coherent version of DPSK, right? So it is a digital band pass modulation technique, right? At the same time, it is non-coherent. So if I say non-coherent, we don't want a local oscillator producing a carrier frequency at the receiver end. Maybe the modulated signal or received signal itself will act as a reference to demodulate. So in order to accomplish that, right, so it's I can say it is a modified version of binary phase shift keying. So before we go for modulation, we'll be doing a sort of encoding, right? So that encoding helps this non-coherent detection of this BPSK. So these are the 4 experiments. So we won't take it, we won't be doing it in this order itself. So maybe next week we'll start with differential phase shift keying, right? And after that, maybe it may be line codes, pulse coded modulation, or QPSK. So that order precisely we'll let you know, right? So next week, anyhow, we'll start with differential phase shift keying, right? So it's a digital bandpass modulation technique. It is a non-coherent technique. So now my question: so you have already implemented BASK, BFSK, and BPSK, right? So in discrete component, we have simulated it, right? Whether those were coherent schemes or non-coherent schemes. So can anyone, you can type it in chat window, whether the BASK, BFSK, BPSK, which we have done, which we have implemented using discrete components, whether they were coherent or non-coherent. Yeah, Shashank is telling coherent. So is there any other answer? Maybe I should, I think I should call out some names and ask. So if Afia can unmute and say whether it was coherent or non-coherent, those modulation schemes which we have used, whether they were coherent or non-coherent. Afia, if you can unmute and tell.
Coherent, sir.
So why do you say it is coherent? Yes, Afia. Yeah, okay, that's it from Afia's side. She said, yeah, please tell me. Yeah, you have unmuted, so please go ahead. Why did you say that is coherent? I think she has some issue with, right, a mic or connection, right? She is unmuting, but she's not able to speak, right? So, okay. So why? Because we have used same carrier signal, right? So whichever carrier signal you use to generate the modulated signal, right? Same carrier signal was used at the demodulator part, right? So you multiply, right? So that's why it's actually coherent. So without the knowledge of the carrier signal, without having the carrier signal available at the receiver end, we couldn't have demodulated the signals, right? So it's coherent scheme. So maybe you may wonder, whatever mathematical modeling you are studying here and whatever you are implementing using discrete component, you may not be able to draw a one-to-one correspondence. I'll be telling it there is a product module, but you can't see a product module as such. I'll be saying there will be a filter or low pass filter, right? You can't see a low pass filter as such, but right. So maybe that part we'll discuss later. So these are the 4 experiments. Now we'll start with, right, say which one should we take up first, right? So maybe we'll right, we'll start with our line codes only, right? So we'll start with the line codes. I'll just clear this canvas. Right. So I think you all are familiar with line codes. What actually is line coding? What do you mean by line coding? So when you are converting a signal into digital, right? Whether it is to transmit over a wired channel, or to be what, or for modulating a high frequency carrier and for transmitting it wirelessly, or for storing it in some storage device, whatever it is. Right. So analog signal has to be converted into digital. What are the various steps involved in digitization? What are the various steps? So you will have you analog signal. Initially, you have to take analog signal, right? Then you will have to sample it, right? You will have to sample it. Before sampling, of course, there should be some like band limiting filter, which will limit the maximum frequency content in this message, so that like maybe we can assure, right, guaranteed reconstruction. So maybe we will see there will be as it will be sampled, then it will be quantized, right? It will be quantized. Then what will happen is actually after quantizing, we'll represent it as actually what a bit sequences, ones and zeros, depending upon how many bit ADC we are using. If I'm using a 4-bit ADC, if I'm using a 4-bit ADC, each quantized sample will be represented as 4 bits. Right. So about quantization, maybe while discussing PCM, I'll discuss in detail. So if I'm using a 4-bit ADC, each sample I should represent as 4-bit, or if I'm using an 8-bit ADC, I should represent it as an 8-bit, right? Whatever. So if I have this bit sequences 1 0 1 1 0, something like this, right? If I have to transmit it over a wired channel, I should get an electrical signal. Or else you have seen, if I have to modulate a high frequency carrier using this, right, I should represent it in electrical format, right? So just representing these bit streams electrically, right? How to represent these bit streams electrically, that is actually called line coding. So we do have different formats, right? So you might have studied there is unipolar return to zero scheme, unipolar non-return to zero scheme is there, right? Polar scheme is there, polar return to zero is there, or bipolar is there, Manchester is there. I think most of you are comfortable with that, right? So I'm not discussing that in detail. So if it is unipolar, you have studied it. It will have only actually it will be either right positive or zero. Only one polarity will be there. There won't be any negative, right? And if it is non-return to zero, for entire clock duration or entire bit duration, it will be high, right, or it will be low. So unipolar NRZ, it is again actually what, like on off, right? If it is a bit 1, it will be represented with a plus V volt, and if it is bit 0, it will be represented with a 0 volt, right? So depending upon the logic which you are using, this V may change, right? It can be either plus 3.3, or it can be 5, or it can be even actually what more. It depends upon the logic which you are using, right? So that is unipolar NRZ. If it is unipolar return to zero, you can see, all of you are able to see this. I hope it's visible. If it is not visible, please do let me know, right? You can unmute and tell, right? So unipolar return to zero. So what happens is, unless otherwise specified, a return to zero means for a fraction of bit duration, the bit will be high, and then it will return to zero. So you can see this is the bit duration. This is the duration of a bit, maybe, right? This is the duration of a bit. So this bit 1 is represented as a positive pulse for a fraction of its duration, and it returns to 0, and as a 0 for the remaining duration, right? So about this in detail, right? Maybe even the spectrum we have derived last time, right? So we have studied this when we were in college itself. Before even the lockdown, we have studied this, right? So, and you have even written this in exam. So I think you are comfortable with this line coding scheme, right? So, and similarly, we have Manchester encoding, bipolar, polar. So I'm not discussing it in detail now. So these things are what we have to implement. So when I say line coding techniques, you have to what, either implement unipolar NRZ, unipolar RZ, polar NRZ, polar RZ, or we have actually what, bipolar schemes, right? Bipolar can be NRZ or RZ, right? So we can have Manchester or split phase scheme, right? Manchester scheme. So in Manchester we don't have any RZ or NRZ. In Manchester or split phase, right? A 1 will be represented as, right? A 1 will be represented as actually what? A positive followed by a negative, right? And a 0 will be represented as a negative followed by a positive, or vice versa. So when I say a 1 is represented as positive followed by negative, or 1 is represented as plus v, it need not always be true. Depending upon your convenience, you can actually what represent a 1 by 0 and 0 by a plus v. That is also possible, right? So this is split phase. So apart from this split phase, we do have two more. That is, one is half sinusoid, right? Half sinusoid signaling. So half sinusoid, as the name suggests, it's again actually what a simple form. So instead of transmitting a rectangular pulse, right? If it is unipolar half sinusoid, instead of transmitting a rectangular pulse, I can transmit a half sinusoid for that duration, right? I can transmit a half sinusoid and 0, again a half sinusoid. If it is say polar half sinusoid, I can, for 1 I can transmit a positive sinusoid, and for I can transmit a negative half sinusoid. Right? For 1 positive sinusoid, 0 negative sinusoid, negative sinusoid. So this is actually what half sinusoid signaling. And one more is raised cosine. Raised cosine spectra. So this about this raised cosine spectra again we have studied, right? So I'll just show you what is a raised cosine spectra. Please hold on, right? And raised cosine signaling. Right. So this is actually what a raised cosine signal, right? So this is the, we have, I think, I hope you remember, I have actually what posted a detailed video on raised cosine signaling, right? So this is the spectrum of a raised cosine signal, and this is the time domain expression as such. So instead of rectangular pulse, if we are transmitting this raised cosine pulse, then we can call actually what raised cosine signaling. So this is the time domain expression of raised cosine pulse, right? It is nothing but sinc 2w of t, where w is nothing but what 1 by time period, right? Sinc of 2w of t cos 2 pi alpha w of t divided by 1 minus 16 alpha square w square t square. So this instead of transmitting a rectangular pulse, we'll be transmitting a raised cosine signal. So that is actually what raised cosine signaling. So about this, each experiment, initially we'll be sending a video and we'll be helping you through the MATLAB simulation as well. So this is about the first experiment. So if you have any doubt with this first experiment, I'm just giving you an overview, an overall picture, right, of the experiment. So this is the these are the various signaling schemes in first experiment. So apart from signaling schemes, right, we have to visualize an eye diagram also. For any polar signaling scheme, we should visualize eye diagram as well, right? So for any polar signaling scheme, we should visualize eye diagram as well. So anyone remember what was eye diagram? Anybody remember what is eye diagram or eye pattern? Right? Anyone? A vague, very vague memory, right? So this, okay, no answers. Okay, fine, right? So an eye diagram, right? So we are transmitting actually what bits in a serial fashion or a sequential manner. We are transmitting the bits or rectangular pulse trains, right? So what happens is, because of some reasons, right, there will be a delay spread, right? So whatever pulse I'm transmitting, which is of duration say TB seconds, by the time it reaches the transmitter end, it will broaden in time, right? So what will happen is the adjacent symbols will actually what interfere. It will cause ISI, right? It will cause ISI, right? So this eye diagram will give us, right, some detailed analysis of the effect of ISI, right? And right. So what actually is eye diagram? Eye diagram is nothing but what, if you are stacking, right, if you take, right, maybe if I consider this, right, if I consider a polar signaling scheme, eye diagram is nothing but what I'll take the signal, right, at the receiver, and I'll take the signal of once for one symbol duration, right. Then I'll take the next one symbol duration and I'll stack upon the previous one. So the signal corresponding to individual symbol duration, if I stack one upon the other, right, we'll get an eye diagram. So, and that eye diagram can give us a lot of information. So those theory in detail, it is included in your lab manual. So I request you to go through, and also for more details, you can refer previous year video, right? So the second module video, I've discussed in detail about eye diagram. So that eye diagram again we have to obtain. So this eye diagram can again give us a lot of information. So like maybe I request you to refer that the manual and the previous video as well, right, for you to have a better picture on eye diagram. So this is the first experiment. So any question in this about first experiment? So you have to implement this using MATLAB, right? You have to implement this using MATLAB, right? And I would like to like start this part B or cycle 2 experiments with a submission that whichever way we have included in the manual or which we'll be demonstrating, that is not the only way to obtain the signaling pattern. You can have any other method also, it's not a problem, right? If you feel some other method is convenient, you can go for that, right? So so we'll be showing you one way of obtaining this signaling scheme or demonstrating the signaling scheme using MATLAB. So if you want, you can use any other method as well. So there is no a single correct method. So there are plenty of options, right? So why people are leaving the meeting, right? Okay, so they're joining back. Maybe it's because of some network issue, right? So okay, so that's about the first experiment. So then we'll go to the next experiment, that will be PCM. So we'll just have a quick glance over what actually is PCM. So you have already studied PCM in Principles of Communication System, maybe your last semester, right? So PCM, you can see here, right? It's a, as I told, it is a digital baseband modulation technique, right? It's quite straightforward. So if you have an analog, I hope all of you can see this. All of you can see my mouse pointer. So I'm using my mouse pointer to refer to any of the blocks of this block diagram which I have displayed, right? So if you have an analog message signal, right, initially you will sample it, right? So that sampling frequency, how the sampling frequency will be defined? This sampling frequency, right, it's actually what baseband sampling. This fs should be greater than or equal to 2w or whatever, right, twice or 2fm, right? Fs should be greater than or equal to 2fm. So if fm is the maximum frequency content in the message signal, right, you should sample it at a rate which is greater than or equal to twice the maximum frequency content. So we are using an LPF just to make sure whatever is there in this, right, the maximum frequency content is limited to FM, so that we can have a sampling rate, an Nyquist sampling rate of 2 FM, right? So after sampling, we'll be quantizing it. So quantizing is nothing but what we can, you have studied in detail about quantizing. We can either have a mid-riser type of quantizing or mid-thread type of quantizing. So quantizing is nothing but if you are using an n-bit ADC, right? So you can have 2 power n different levels, right? So you will divide the swing of input signal. You will divide the swing of input signal into 2 power n discrete levels. You can either divide it in a mid-riser manner as shown in this, or you can divide it in a mid-thread manner as shown in this, right? So either way you can divide it, and what you will do is you will just, right, either round off or truncate the samples to one of these levels, and you will assign, right after that the encoder will assign actually what bit sequences corresponding to that. So you can either for the lowest level you can start with all zeros, right, and for the highest level you can have all ones, right. So you will have 2 power n different levels including all zeros to all one. So you will encode it, right. So then what you will do, what we will get is also in this example I've considered the message to be a sinusoid, right. So we are sampling at these instances, right. So and you can see the digital value corresponding to the code corresponding to this sample, right. It is transmitted during this sample duration, right. So this is a sample duration. I'll write it as TS. Within this sample duration, right, I should transmit an electrical pulse which corresponds to actually what the encoded bit sequences of this particular sample, right. So this is nothing but PCM, right. So you'll sample, quantize, encode, right. So then you'll represent it. You can represent it anyway. As what we'll do is we'll assume it to be a unipolar NRZ manner, right. So those bit sequences are represented in unipolar NRZ manner, and we'll be transmitting it. And to transmit it, we need actually what, a wired channel, right. So we'll be transmitting it over a wired channel, right. So while implementing it in MATLAB, we won't, right, consider this low pass filter and these regenerative repeaters and all we won't consider. So we'll be generating a PCM signal, and at the receiver end, right, so even this regeneration circuit, we won't assume any noise interference, right, or any aberrations induced by channel or the transmitter receiver part, right. But at the receiver end, it will be the same. So whatever is received here, so if this is 10001, you will actually decode it and you will deconstruct it to get this analog signal back, right. So this is PCM. So we have to implement this thing in MATLAB. So we'll sample it, we'll then quantize it, we'll then encode it, and we'll transmit. And this decoding part and reconstruction part, we will do it in MATLAB, right. So and further details while discussing that, we'll that particular experiment we'll see. So in this, any doubt anyone is having? Sorry, anyone has any doubt? Are you comfortable with this? Right, so please do type in yes or no. Shall I move on to the next one? Okay, yeah, fine. Thanks for responding. Right. So this is PCM. So we'll be implementing PCM modulation and demodulation. So, and for this, right, for you to quantize or to reconstruct and all those things, we'll be using some input MATLAB functions, namely quantis and all those things. So as and when required, we'll introduce you to such functions. So we'll be using some inbuilt MATLAB function, right, to implement this, right. So that is about PCM. So next we'll move on to say QPSK, and last we'll discuss DPSK, right. So before that, I want you to be comfortable with some basics. So if you consider a simple BPSK, how a BPSK signal was generated, so we'll have bit sequences, ones and zeros, right. So bit sequences will be there, right. So that bit sequence, it should be represented as polar NRZ initially. I'm just discussing about BPSK as you have studied BPSK already, right. So you will represent it as polar NRZ form, right. You will represent it as polar NRZ form. So if it is a 1, you will represent it as actually what, plus root EB, right, where EB is the energy per bit, and if it is 0, you will represent as minus root EB, where again EB is energy per bit. Then what you will do is you will have a product modulator where you will have your carrier or the basis functions you might have studied about as basis function, right? And it will be equal to root 2 by t cos 2 pi fct. This is your carrier, right? So this is your BPSK modulated signal. This is how you will get BPSK modulated signal, right? And at the receiver end, what you will be doing at the receiver end, right? It will be transmitted, and at the receiver end, right, you will be using a coherent detection, right? So you will be you will have a synchronized, right, local oscillator which will produce again same thing, root 2 by t cos 2 pi fct, right? If there is some error or phase offset or frequency offset, it will result in some error. But again, we are not considering that. We are assuming it is perfectly synchronized, right? So you are so what you will get here is you will get plus or minus root 2 EB by say t, where t is nothing but what, bit duration, cos 2 pi fct. That is our modulated signal, right? This is our modulated signal, say S of t. This is our modulated signal. It will be plus root 2 EB by t cos 2 pi fct if it was a 1, and minus root 2 EB by t cos 2 pi fct if it was a 0, right? So then you will multiply it with root 2 by t cos 2 pi fct, and then you will pass it through a low pass filter or integrator, right? You will pass it through a low pass filter or an integrator, right? Then you will have a decision device. You will have a decision device, right? What this decision device will do is it will see, right? It will see if the integrator output, if it is greater than 0, it will decide a 1 was transmitted. If it is less than 0, it will decide a 0 was transmitted. So maybe you can call it threshold detection, right? You can call it threshold detection. This is what was happening in BPSK, right? So here again, how can we use this cos? How it works actually? If you multiply it with this cos 2 pi fct, this forget about the constant part, right? If you multiply cos 2 pi fct into cos 2 pi fct, what you will get is you will get cos square 2 pi fct, right? So this cos square 2 pi fct, right? So or else it's 2 cos square 2 pi fct is 1 plus cos 2 theta, right? Or by 2 or whatever, right? So it is, if cos square 2 pi fct, it has components, a DC component and a very high frequency component. I'll call it actually what, high frequency component, and this is a DC component, right? So when you pass this through a low pass filter, right, which allows, right, say only low frequency, or allows only DC or low frequency component or baseband part, right? This will be eliminated. That is how it physically works. But if you see it as an integrator, so normally in MATLAB, while implementing this low pass filter, I'll implement it as an integrator, right? So for that, we'll be using actually what, trapezoidal integration, right? We have an inbuilt MATLAB command that is traps, right? It will perform actually what, trapezoidal approximation of integration. So if you integrate this, just imagine we're integrating 1 plus cos 2 theta, right? 1 plus cos theta d theta, cos 2 from 0 to 2 pi, or over a cycle, or from, right, over a period, right? If you are integrating this, what you will get, integral 1 d theta will be theta, right? But what will be integral 0 to 2 pi cos 2 theta d theta? What will be this? If so this is a very basic thing which you have to, for all, maybe for QPSK and DPSK, we'll be using actually what, an integrator, right, as a low pass filter, right? So how an integrator can give this result, of a low pass filter. So if it is cos 2 pi fct or sin 2 pi fct, say this is, right, 0 pi 2 pi, cos 2 pi fct will be something like this. What will be cos 4 pi fct? Or cos theta will be something like this. What will be cos 2 theta? Cos 2 theta, it will be, right, it will have 2 cycles within this given period, right? it will have 2 complete cycles within this given period. Or else if it is sine theta, it is this, sine 2 theta will have 2 cycles within this given period, right? But if you integrate sine theta or sine 2 theta or sine 3 theta, right, over a period, what you will get? Integration is nothing but what? Area under a curve, right? So if you integrate it, you can see even if it is sine theta or sine 2 theta or whatever, right? So the positive and negative areas will get cancelled, right? So if you integrate say cos 2 theta or sine 2 theta, right, or cos 4 theta, whatever, or even cos theta, right, so you will get a 0. So the second term will be 0. So only this DC term will survive, of course, with some like amplitude scaling, right? So that is how, right, an integrator can actually what replaces LPF. We will be using actually what, a trapezoidal integration here, right? So only that thing is actually what, only that part is little bit confusing, not confusing, right? So you should be able to appreciate that. That's it, right? So with this basic, so now, right, instead of cos 2 pi FCT, just imagine I was multiplying with a carrier in phase quadrature, that is sine 2 pi FCT. What would have happened? Can you please try out this? Right, instead of cos 2 pi FCT, so maybe I'll just redraw it, right? So I have a signal, it is cos 2 pi FCT, right? Cos 2 pi FCT, right? I am multiplying it with, say, sine 2 pi FCT. I am multiplying it with sine 2 pi FCT, and I am then integrating it, right, over a period, right? I am integrating it over a period, right? What will be the output? Can you please, all of you, please do try this, right? Just you should know what is sine theta, cos theta, what is sine theta, cos theta, right? Just now I told cos square theta, cos theta times cos theta. Cos square theta is 1 plus cos 2 theta by 2. So it has a DC term or a low frequency term and a high frequency term. So when you pass it through a low pass filter or integrator, only the low frequency term will be survived, right? But in this case, all of you please do try and let me know what will be the result. So these are some very basic things which you should be able to appreciate. Then only you will be able to what understand, or you will be able to what appreciate whatever we'll be learning in this QPSK or DPSK. So what actually is this? If you multiply cos 2 pi FCT and sin 2 pi FCT, you will get, or you take cos theta and sin theta, right? Cos theta and sin theta, you will get actually what? Cos theta, sin theta. What actually is cos theta, sin theta? It is half sin 2 theta. If you see here, it has got only one high frequency content, right? It has got only one high frequency content. So if you are considering it as a low pass filter, right, it has got only one high frequency content, so that will be blocked, so output will be 0. Otherwise, if you are seeing it as an integrator, right, if you integrate sin 2 theta or cos 2 theta over a period, you will end up getting a 0. So the result will be equal to 0, right? So this again you have to actually what keep in mind. So cos 2 theta and sin 2 theta, they are mutually orthogonal, right? So if you take product of this and say pass it through a low pass filter or an integrator, you will end up getting a 0, right? Whereas if it is cos square theta or sin square theta, right, you will get some DC term outside. So that, I think that is clear. Is that clear? Is that part clear? Are you able to accept this, whatever result I have discussed now? Are you comfortable with that? Are you okay with that idea? I'm not getting any response. Please do respond. Yeah. So yeah, thank you for responding. So now, yeah, thank you. That's it. Right. So now what we'll do is we'll see the block diagram of QPSK as such. Right. So give me a moment. Right. So so as we started 5 minutes late, so I request you people to give me an additional 5 minutes. Right, I think that would be fine. So please do, if you have any other commitments at 3:30 itself, please do let me know. Otherwise, I request you to give me an extra 5 minutes. We already started, no, 5 to 8 minutes late. I think we started, right? So this is this is QPSK. So QPSK, you have already learned. You can see it as actually what, two parallel BPSK, right? So initially we have binary data sequences there, right? So we are converting it into what, unipolar, polar non-return to 0, right? So what happens is 1 will be represented as plus root EB here, right? 0 will be represented as minus root EB here, right? So then what we are doing is, right, so in QPSK, instead of transmitting 1 bit at a time, we'll be grouping 2 bits, right? We'll be grouping 2 bits, right? So if you group 2 bits, there will be 2 power 2, that is equal to 4 different levels. So we'll have 4 symbols, right? We'll have 4 symbols. To represent each symbol, we need a signal. So in binary phase shift keying or binary ASK or binary FSK, we had only 1 bit per symbol. So if it is only 1 bit per symbol, 2 power 1, there were only 2 symbols, right? There were only 2 symbols, right? So to represent 2 symbols, I need 2 signals. So if it is ASK, it was on off, right? An RF pulse or off. If it is FSK, for 1 we were using a cos 2 pi f1t, for 0 we were using cos 2 pi f2t. And if it is BPSK, we were using in phase and out of phase signal or in antipodal signals. But here we do have actually what, 4 symbols. So to corresponding to each symbol, we need actually what, 4 signals. So that can be obtained with the help of actually what, 2 carriers which are in quadrature. So we can call it actually what, in phase carrier, and this is actually what, quadrature phase carrier, right? So in phase is root 2 by t cos 2 pi fct. I don't know whether you can read this. It is nothing but what, root 2 by t cos 2 pi fct, and quadrature phase is root 2 by t sin 2 pi fct. So we are like demultiplexing odd and even bits like this. Odd bit will go to actually what, this upper arm, and even bit will go to this lower arm, right? So then odd bit will be modulating a cosinusoidal carrier, and even bit will be modulating a sinusoidal carrier, and we'll be what, adding these two together to get the QPSK modulated signal, right? So that's what is shown here. So if 0 1 1 0 1 1 0, this is the bit sequence, right? So we'll all odd bit will come here, right? So 0, after that 1, after that again 1, after that 0, right? So then if it is 0, we'll represent it as a minus, 1 as a plus, right? Plus, minus, and similarly even bit will come here. So even bits are here, right? So and as it is 0, we'll be transmitting actually what, minus cos, right? For this symbol duration, what you have to keep in mind is, right, if odd bit is 0, so this is one symbol duration is actually what, 2 bit duration, right? So here one symbol duration is 2 bit duration. So symbol duration is 2 bit duration. So for this entire bit duration, we'll be actually what, having a cosinusoid, minus cosinusoid, and here the first even bit is 1, so it will be plus cos, right? So plus sine, right? So it is minus cos and plus sine. So minus cos plus sine, that is what is here, right? So we can have actually what, plus or minus cos, plus or minus sine. So we can have 4 different combination, either plus cos plus sine, or plus cos minus sine, minus cos plus sine, minus cos minus sine. So we can have 4 different combinations. So corresponding each symbol, we can have actually what, any of the 4 different combinations. So this is actually what, QPSK, right? So this is QPSK transmission. At the receiver end, we are using actually what, it's coherent detection. So we are assuming we know the exact frequency and phase. So phi 1 of t will be what, root 2 by t cos 2 pi fct. Phi 2 of t will be root 2 by t sin 2 pi fct. So if you multiply, if it is cos, right? If it is cos, whatever is coming here is cos. If you are multiplying with cos, you will get actually what, cos square. When you are multiplying with sine, you will get sine and sine theta cos theta, right? This cos square, it is actually what, 1 plus cos 2 theta, and sine square is nothing but what, it is sine 2 theta. So when you pass it through, if it is cos, right, and when you multiply with sine and integrate, here you won't get anything, but here you will get actually what, in fact root EB, whatever was the coefficient, that you will get here, right? So then you will take it, you will have a decision device, right? So that decision device will give us odd and even bits, then we can again actually what multiplex them and transmit. This is what is happening in QPSK. So we'll do the same thing. Initially, we'll consider a binary bit sequence. We'll represent it as polar non-return to 0. Then we'll actually what separate odd and even bits, right? So to do this demultiplexing or separation of odd and even bits, we'll be using some inbuilt function called reshape, right? We can use reshape, right? So then after that, this odd bits will be modulating our cosinusoid and even bits will be modulating sinusoid, and then again we'll be what adding them together to get QPSK signal. And at the receiver end, right, this received QPSK signal is simultaneously fed into a in-phase coherent detector and a quadrature phase coherent detector, right? So this in-phase, right, it will give us the odd bits. Right, why? Because odd bits are modulated using cosine. So I will get, as I'm using cosine here, I will get odd bits here, right? And I'll get even bits here. Then again, if I can multiplex it, one odd followed by an even, odd followed by an even, right? I will get the binary data sequence back. Right, so this is QPSK, right? So, I'm not included the constellation of QPSK or error probability, anything in this discussion, that we'll see later. Trying to give you an overall idea so that you will be able to what you will find comfortable when we are discussing the MATLAB programs, right? So this is QPSK. So is it clear? Is there any doubt regarding QPSK? Okay. Any further clarity is required regarding QPSK. So what we'll be doing is we'll be whatever whatever I have described now is the mathematical model. So that mathematical model as such we will mathematical model as such we will implement in MATLAB, right? So the product modulator, all those, right? So this we'll be implementing it as integrator, right? The product modulator, right? So all those same thing will be done in MATLAB. So that's about QPSK. Then I think right now we can move on to DPSK. So I'll take hardly say 5 more minutes I'll take, then I'll wind up, right? So please excuse me for that, right? Do you have any other say commitments now other than this? At 3:30 you have other class or something? Please CRs, if you can type it in chat window. Can I take another 5 minutes? You have cognizant, please. So please, those who have any other commitments, right? Like, so Carlton is telling he has cognizant placement. So please do type in chat window and you can leave if you have any other commitment. Others, please do, right? Stay back, right? So this DPSK, as I told, it is a non-coherent digital band pass modulation technique, right? Non-coherent digital band pass modulation technique. It is obvious if you see this is actually what the demodulator part. If you see the demodulator part itself, you can't see if there is no any local oscillator. No local oscillator is there, right? If you inspect it, the received signal, in fact, a delayed version of the received signal itself is acting as actually what a reference of this balanced modulator or coherent, a product modulator, right? So we will see. So how it is possible? So it is possible, right, because of this encoding. So this DPSK we can see as actually what differential encoding. So initially we'll have differential encoding, right, followed by binary phase shift keying, right? So DPSK is nothing but what? Again, a binary modulation technique, right? It has a differential encoding part. Initially, this differential encoding actually what facilitates this non-coherent detection, followed by BPSK, right? So if you see only this part, it is exactly same as our BPSK, right? Just now what we have seen. So this is exactly same as our BPSK, right? And this part is called actually what? A differential encoding. So this is differential encoding. So what we are doing is differential encoding is nothing but what? A present bit, right? Present bit will be XNORed with previous bit, right? Present bit will be XNORed with previous bit, right? So you know what is truth table of XNOR. So if it is 0, 0 and 1, 1, we'll get 1. And if it is 0, 1 or 1, 0, we'll get 0. It is exactly opposite of that of actually what XOR, right? So wherever there is a change in bit, right, we'll get a 0. Wherever it's same bit, right, we'll get a 1, right? So then this here it should be actually what in polar non-return to 0 format. That is, if it is 1, it should be actually what plus root EB, and 0 it should be minus root EB, right? So then it is actually what BPSK modulated, right? But at the receiver end, you can see, right, we are using a product modulator itself or a balanced modulator itself. But normally in coherent schemes, we should have been using a local oscillator producing same frequency, right? Same frequency. But here, right, we are not reproducing the frequency. Instead of that, we are using 1-bit delayed version of this modulated signal itself as the demodulated signal. That actually it. So what happens is, if there is a, you can see here, right? So if it is 0, it is minus cos only, right? And again, if there is no change in bit, right, so you can see a continuous phase, it's again minus cos only. But wherever there is a transmission from 0 to 1, right, wherever there is a transmission from 0 to 1, you can see the phase is changed, right? And again, so that is maybe the details we can see in detail later. So if you draw a truth table of XNOR function, XNOR operation, you'll be able to appreciate that. So how this delayed version. So what we have to do is you have to multiply a signal of current bit symbol duration with signal of actually what previous symbol duration. So in MATLAB we'll be doing that. We'll be multiplying signal of current symbol duration with signal of previous symbol duration, right? Then we'll be passing it through a low pass filter or integrator, right? So then we'll be using actually what a decision threshold, right? A decision threshold, right? So here, even though I mentioned a shaper, it will be actually what a decision device which will be used. So it will again actually what give us the recovered binary data, right? So this non-coherent modulation is possible. For instance, you just accept it, right? Or maybe you can try it out, right? Because of this differential encoding. As this differential encoding is present, non-coherent detection is possible. So again, these things also we'll be implementing in MATLAB, right? So I think those are the 4 part B experiments. So next week, what we'll do is next Monday, we will try out BPSK together. Maybe I would request everyone to do it along with us when we are explaining, when we are doing. You can do it along with us, right? Yeah. So yeah, that's it for today. If you have any doubt, please feel free to ask. So I think you are clear with what is that we have to do, right? So we'll be implementing all these things in MATLAB, right? We'll be implementing all these things in MATLAB. Yeah. So if you have any doubt, please feel free to ask. Right? Any doubt or any doubt regarding the cycle 1 experiments or about the assessment which is conducted, right? Please ask. Otherwise, you can leave, right? But I may just, if I may ask Shama ma'am or Jennifer ma'am or Vijayalakshmi, if you have to add something, ma'am, please.
No, sir. From my side, it is nothing to add on.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Okay. So Jennifer ma'am and Vijayalakshmi ma'am, if you have. Yeah, okay, fine. So I think thank you for joining. Right. So maybe all of you can leave. So next Monday we'll start with right the part B experiment. Thank you so much. Right. Those who have doubt can stay back and ask. Others can leave.